ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Brothers and sisters in Islam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower us with His mercy and with His blessings and descend His tranquility upon us and send His obedient servants from amongst the angels to come and lower their wings out of humility, out of acceptance and out of approval and mercy for what we will be discussing today. Our topic of discussion this evening, brothers and sisters, is going to be a principle taken from the Quranic guidance, taken from many numerous verses in the Quran. And as you all know, the Quran contains an endless amount of treasures, far more valuable than the most precious of gold or diamonds. The Quran is the universal book of guidance for all of mankind. It contains all goodness. It contains the stories of the prophets, of the previous nations, the best of men who ever walked the face of the earth. It contains scientifical miracles. It contains guidance in how to conduct business transactions. It contains the best ethical and moral teachings, as well as fine and superb principles that we can utilize in our daily lives. And from the principles mentioned and emphasized in the Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's statement, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا, and say good to others and speak nicely to others. This is a very important principle that all human beings need to practice in their daily lives. Human beings are social creatures who are constantly interacting, mixing and dealing with other humans on a daily basis. We deal and conversate with people from all walks of life, people with different understandings, people with different manners, people with different cultures, people with different traditions. And this principle comes to regulate and govern the way we speak and the way we conversate with others. This great principle has been continuously mentioned throughout the Quran, directly as well as indirectly, brothers and sisters. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in another verse in Surah Isra, in which He says, وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ, and say to my servants, O Muhammad, remind my worshippers that they should speak in the best of ways, that they should say the best of things. And from the benefits of this verse, brothers and sisters, is that there is another recitation of it, according to one of the other Qurra, in which it is read, وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حَسَنًا. So from the benefits of this is that we learn that there were two recitations, both emphasizing the importance of speaking with goodness to the people. So when, in light of these two recitations, these two different recitations of this verse, then the meaning of this principle is more strongly emphasized. And we should understand that, number one, that whatever we say, it should be good. It should be nice. And how we say it, it should be good. It should be the best of ways. And this also includes the meaning of what we say. The meaning of it should be good as well. And that we deliver whatever we want to say with kindness, with gentleness, and without harshness. We are in constant need of understanding this principle, brothers and sisters, and practicing it in our daily lives. because we are always dealing with and conversing with many different types of people, with each other, from amongst the Muslims. Many non-Muslims we deal with, we work with, we go to school with, we see at the supermarket, at the library, at the bookstore, shopping. We deal with righteous people. We deal with those who are obedient servants to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also deal with corrupt people. We deal with the youth, and we deal with the elderly as well. And even on a more personal level, brothers and sisters, this principle comes into play when we speak with our parents, when we speak with our spouses, our children, and even in the workplace, when we speak to our bosses, when we speak and address our employees, and even our co-workers. So if we were to flip the pages of the Quran, if we were to open this noble book which Allah sent down for the guidance of mankind, and if we were to search for this principle, then indeed we would find it in so many different manifestations and in numerous situations. Think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's statement regarding how we should speak to our parents. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And do not say to them a word of disrespect. Do not disrespect your parents. Do not talk to them in a bad way. Do not talk to them in a harsh way. Do not shout at them, but address them in terms of honor. Speak to them with the best of words. Speak to them in the best of ways. Speak to them in the best of meanings. And just think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says about the sa'il, al-muhtaj. Think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says regarding how we should address and speak to the needy, or speak to the beggar, or speak to the one asking us something. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And as for the questioner, or as for the one asking you for something, whether it's money, whether it's about knowledge, whether it's about assistance or aid or help, when a questioner comes to asking you, then do not repulse him. Do not turn him away. Do not speak with him in a harsh manner. And think about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes and praises His merciful servants with. Think about the attributes of the servants of the most merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who walk upon the earth in humility. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. That if an ignorant person says something to you, if somebody addresses you with ignorance, or if somebody from amongst those who are known to be upon foolishness, if they come and address you with ignorance, then you should say peace to them. You should say goodness to them. And this response of the merciful servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards the ignorant, this isn't a sign of weakness. This isn't a sign of fear. Rather, it is a response of nobility, a response of fine character, and a response of one who does not want to waste their words nor their time. And this reminds us of some verses of poetry which have been attributed to Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, in which he says, يخاطبني السفيه بكل قبح فأكره أن أكون له مجيبا يزيد سفاهة فأزيد حلما كعود زاده الإحراق تيبا. Imam Shafi'i said something very similar to this verse in the Quran, meaning that the foolish and ignorant one, he comes and addresses me and talks to me ever so rudely with nastiness and insult. And I detest to be one who responds to him. This foolish person, this ignorant person, he increases in foolishness and insolence, while I increase in forbearance and patience. I increase in forbearance and patience just like incense, just like oud, which its fragrant scent increases the more you burn it. So this is how the servants of the Most Merciful walk upon the earth when they are addressed by the ignorant. And unfortunately, brothers and sisters in Islam, we find that many of those who have not embraced Islam, many of the people we come into contact with on a daily basis, which are non-Muslim, they are practicing this principle far better than many of the Muslims. And they are practicing this principle to attract others to follow their religion, or follow their political views, or follow their false ideologies. So aren't the Muslims, aren't we the most deserving to be practicing this principle, brothers and sisters? Aren't we first and foremost to be implementing this in our daily lives, brothers and sisters? Because if we cannot practice this principle amongst ourselves with our brothers and sisters, then how do we expect to practice it with others whom we are trying to invite to Islam? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to benefit from the guidance contained in the Quran and implement these principles into our daily lives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.